of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a workshop and executive session and a regular meeting on Tuesday, August the 5th, 2014, at 5:10 p.m., 5:35 p.m., and 6 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Workshop Item A, discussion regarding the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation project funding recommendations for fiscal year 2014, Cycle 1.
Good afternoon, members of the City Commission. Okay. We have here before you our recommendations for funding for fiscal year 2014, Cycle 1. BCIC allocates a percentage of its sales tax receipts towards community projects that will enhance quality of life for our residents and promote economic development to attract business and tourists. This year, BCIC is allocating a total of over $963,000 to eligible community projects.
Just a
Additionally,
Can you hear?
closer? Oh, sorry. Okay. This year, BCIC is allocating a total over $963,000 to eligible community projects. Additionally, the allocated funds will have been divided equally to create 2 funding application cycles to increase accessibility. State law defines projects to include land, buildings, equipment, facilities, expenditures, target infrastructure, and improvements suitable for development of business and other eligible activities. Eligible projects include professional and amateur sports and athletic facilities, tourism and entertainment facilities, convention facilities, public parks, and open space improvements, related store, restaurant, concession, parking, and transportation facilities, related street, water, sewer facilities, and affordable housing. Other eligible projects BCIC can fund that promote and develop new and expanded businesses that create or retain primary jobs include public safety facilities, recycling facilities, streets, roads, drainage, related improvements, demolition of existing structures, and maintenance and operating costs associated with projects. All these eligible projects are to enhance the community in the effort to attract businesses and tourists. Besides the state law guidelines, BCIC has set internal application guidelines that must be followed. They include the applicant must be a tax-exempt nonprofit organization or the City of Brownsville department, have a minimum required monetary match of 20%, and grantee must spend their match first before BCIC expends and funds towards the project. City of Brownsville departments may also use labor costs as a match by city employees. The grantee must keep BCIC informed of the progress of the projects and ongoing reporting and status updates. Before you is a list of the projects that BCIC is recommending for funding this cycle. This list was included in your packet. Also note that all the applications that were submitted this funding cycle have been recommended for funding. The first project is Quantica Monumental Sculpture Exhibit from the Brownsville Museum of Fine Art. Quantic is a touring exhibit, consists of 9 sculptures and a collection of neo-nano sculptures from international artist Sebastian and will be located at Linear Park. The exhibit will feature geometric forms such as cylinders, cones, and spheres. The sculptures will rotate to a cylinder to represent the planets, moons, and meteors. Brownsville will be the first city to showcase this exhibit and will support the museum's upcoming space exhibit that will kick off later in the fall. The next project is from PUB. They are requesting funds for their cemetery resaca restoration project. The project will include bank improvements, stormwater management, water quality monitoring, and education outreach. Design will include the development of a shallow slope bank stabilized with native vegetation to provide habitat for local and migrant birds and other wildlife. The native vegetation will also provide a more natural profile. Use of filtration ponds and buffer areas will help treat stormwater runoff with surrounding roadways and develop area before draining into the resaca. Additionally, the project will include observation decks, walking trails, and boardwalk area to support recreation and ecotourism in the area and enhance our historic landmark. The next project is Belden Connect. The applicant is BC Workshop. They are requesting funds to extend the connection from the existing Belden Trail to 6th Street. The project is broken down into 2 zones. The first zone will make improvements of the former railroad behind the Palm Village Shopping Center on Palm Boulevard. The project will include a 10-foot wide trail with landscaping throughout. It will also give the opportunity for the existing businesses along the route to create outdoor space and access to the trail. The second zone is to add a dedicated lane for bikers and pedestrians along Old Alice Road and Jackson Street to 6th Street with landscape improvements throughout the route. The project will also include added benches, shade structures, and enhanced crosswalks. The applicant will also coordinate with the City Cemetery Resaca restoration efforts being undertaken by PUB. The next project is a learning garden from the Children's Museum of Brownsville. The project is to create a 30 by 40 foot outdoor exhibit that will serve as a nature classroom. Here's a bird's eye view of the museum and the proposed location of the outdoor project. The project will be fenced with and will include a shaded structure, a picnic tables, benches, music instruments, garden table, and an interactive Resaca restoration exhibit that will teach children about the restoration process of our Resacas. The next project is the Mini Cultural District Master Plan from the City of Brownsville Planning Department. The project is to develop a long-term master plan that establishes the framework and key elements of the City of Brownsville and the Mini Cultural District's vision of cultural engagement in our city. Components will include an analysis of the Brownsville demographics and a review of local regional conditions, including overview of trends in population and economic growth of the area. Conduct public meetings with experts, stakeholders, organizations, and the community for input that will serve as criteria for evaluating the plan during the development. A schedule that will include strategic phasing plan that will designate high, mid, and low priority plans. Establish guidelines for current and future land use, building form, pedestrian and vehicle circulation, and parking and natural features. Next, we have the Tourist Center project by the City of Brownsville Public Works Department. The project will convert the old scale house building and our landfill into a place for tourists and visitors to learn about recycling, composting, and other environmental friendly practices. And also will be a place for birders to go and observe the hundreds of different species, including the Topolipus crow. Here's where the actual building, if you can see it in the landfill. I'm sorry, I thought there was, in your slideshow that I have on your thing, you'll have existing and the proposed layout. The project will include removal of the existing floor, upgrade the bathrooms, repositioning the AC unit and cabinets to the other end of the building, and removing the interior wall to make it open and inviting space to conduct workshops for visitors to congregate while waiting for guided tours. The exterior project will add parking spaces, landscape, restore the murals that are painted on the exterior walls. The next project is the Brownsville Bike Barn. The applicant is the City of Brownsville Traffic Department. The improvements are to improve the structure and function of the facility. The project includes building an extension of the existing structure to build shade for working outside and serve as an alternate workspace. Building pergolas to contribute to the shade for existing picnic tables, serve as a place for workshops, and enhance the aesthetics of the downtown area, and set up an irrigation system to provide water to existing garden areas. Here's an illustration of what the extension from the existing building would look like. Next project is the applicant Keep Brownsville Beautiful. The project is Brownsville Beautification Project and includes purchasing of equipment and supplies such as paint rollers, brooms, shovels, tents to successfully complete their 26-year round events. With added equipment supplies, KBB can increase their volunteer base, thus increase the amount of collected waste and recyclable materials. The last recommended project is a storage room project from the Part 1 Costumes Corporation. They are requesting funds to assist in converting the back quarter of their conference room into a secure storage closet to store their rare and priceless costume collection and other important costume accessories. The BCAC board has been working hard these past few years to increase funds to support a variety of community projects submitted. Just a reminder, each of these applicants are required to have a minimum of a 20% match and are required to use the match before BCIC expends any of these funds. BCIC loses nothing if they do not spend their money first. If the projects are approved this evening, the projects can start October 1st of this year. Any questions? Thank you.
Workshop item B, proposed terminal at the Brownsville South Powder Island International Airport.
Mayor Martinez, City Commissioners. First of all, my name is Larry Brown. I serve the community as the Director of Aviation at the Brownsville South Powder Island International Airport. I also have with me this evening Jerry Farrar. Jerry Farrar is a Senior Aviation Engineer with the firm of CH2M Hill, our aviation engineering consultants. There are also a whole series of people here from the Airport Advisory Board and some friends of the airport as well. If you all would hold up your hand, please. Very good. We're here for the purpose of having a brief workshop with you to discuss something that we, both the Terminal Planning Committee and the Airport Advisory Board, have been working on for some time now. And that's taking a look at this community's airport passenger terminal with regard to the needs that we currently have and how we propose to meet those needs in the future. As you know, the airport has been growing rapidly. As a matter of fact, we have data from the FAA that we just got about a week ago showing that last year our employments at the Brownsville Airport were the highest in the 85-year history of the airport. About 200 people higher than in 1979 when Braniff was flying out of the airport, and that was the second highest period. The airport terminal itself obviously supplies the facilities to move people and goods in and out of the airport, so it becomes a dominant feature of the airport and a place that people focus on in terms of the parking facilities, in terms of facilities inside and so forth. Both. It's also the entrance to this community. When a person flies to this community for the first time and lands at the airport, the first impression they have of this community is when they get off the plane, okay? And that is Brownsville, and that's the first impression that people have. So it becomes very important. It's important not just for how it looks, but also how it functions. Does it function so that people get their baggage quickly when they get off the plane? Does it function to allow people to move quickly in and out of the terminal and to parking lots and so forth? That's what we have been working on analyzing. We're prepared to give you basically about 5 minutes worth. It's a subset of the document that you provided on in your packet on Friday. Series of slides. Then if you'd like to ask us a series of questions, we'll be happy to address those. Jerry?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We left a packet in front of you. We don't have time to go through all of this. We're just going to go through a few selected slides to give you a brief summary and, like I said, respond to any questions that you might have. We're going to begin this evening with obviously where we are today, 2014, and the existing terminal we had that Larry basically described, which has many problems, both with the terminal and with the aircraft parking at the terminal. The existing terminal has many deficient areas in terms of baggage, check-in, the whole rooms, both for domestic and international passengers, and also any aircraft larger than the small regional jet 50-passenger aircraft that would park at the terminal would be in violation of what was called FAA Part 77 surfaces. So in essence, we cannot accommodate any aircraft larger than that with today's terminal. As Larry said, the terminal is many years old. It was built prior to current security requirements, which are very intense and will continue to be so. And the functional size and space of layout just does not meet current standards. As a part of our study, we prepared a 20-year forecast for passengers and also aircraft. In addition, the FAA prepares what they call a terminal area forecast. On the left-hand side of this slide is the FAA forecast. Approximately in the middle is the forecast that we prepared for both domestic and international traffic. It's to be noted that the FAA terminal area forecast only includes domestic passengers. And the reason that is because currently you do not have scheduled commercial international service in the airport. So we broke our forecast into two groups, the international and the domestic. Our domestic forecast compares, quite favorable to that of the FAA, as you can see there, noted by the total that the FAA has and the total domestic that we're showing here. The difference, big difference, is the international forecast which we've developed based upon the economy of Brownsville and the border community with Matamoros and the activity between Mexico and Brownsville. This is a very important need. It's most important to realize that when you look at the total here, it's substantially more than what the FAA is showing. But this forecast has been submitted to the FAA and it has been approved. We also looked at the functional area requirements of the terminal. That relates to the area used for check-in, baggage claim, hold rooms, security, customs and border protection, and things like that. The current terminal has an area of 34,163 square feet. Using the forecast you saw on the previous slide, we used FAA criteria and developed the forecast for the short term, which is a 10-year period, the midterm, which is a 15, the long term, which is a 20-year period, the amount of space that would be needed. What we're planning on here is developing further plans for the idea of having about 55,000 square feet, somewhere between the 10 and 15-year plan, to allow for sustainable, flexible terminal growth in the future as the demand dictates. It's always important that you not overbuild the terminal. You want to build it so that you will be able to expand it as the demand increases, but also we find that in the aircraft business or in the aviation business, the mixed demand will change from the various types of airlines. So you've got to have a lot of flexibility. It was important that we develop goals and objectives. We worked with the Airport Advisory Board, the Terminal Committee, many of you, and looked at what the image of the city and region. We want to have a strong expression of Brownsville in the region in the new terminal. Functional requirements, which I just talked about, are exceedingly important, but also the sustainability for the long-term future of this airport and the city. Obviously, we wanted project costs that are reasonable to give you a long-term facility here that doesn't require an inordinate amount of maintenance and operation costs in the future, and have a delivery schedule where the project could be completed in a reasonable period of time. So we developed 5 alternatives. One of those, of course, was to look at the existing terminal and how it might be able to be improved, as well as 2 other alternatives, alternatives 2 and 3, each of which had 2 subsets. Each of those included a single-level terminal with the aircraft operating at the ramp level like you have today, and then a 2-level terminal with aircraft having the whole rooms on the 2nd level to be able to operate, such as Houston Intercontinental or other airports that have that type of airport. Of those, alternatives 1 and 2 were selected by the Terminal Committee and Airport Advisory Board to carry through for further alternative evaluation. Alternative 1, which is the modernization of the existing building, has many problems associated with it. Some of them are listed here. The biggest one is it does not meet the requirements of a larger aircraft. It will only satisfy very short-term needs. Any money spent today in improving that terminal will be wasted because it would have to be torn down and replaced within 10 years. Alternative 2, 2 concepts, 2B1 and 2B2, both of which show a new terminal immediately to the west of the existing terminal building, basically along Amelia Earhart and the existing parking lot. The only difference between these two is that 2B1 is the ramp, includes the ramp level gates, where 2B2 includes the 2nd level hold rooms. This is the alternative and concept view for the 2B2, showing, if you will, the new terminal in red, new apron accommodating larger aircraft, and new parking to the west of that with new curb front. We have gone through a complete construction phasing analysis of this to know how long it would take to construct it, and we've also developed construction cost estimates based upon the conceptual plan that we have today. And those are shown here. We're reflecting both Terminal 1, as we agreed to do, and both Terminal 2B1 and 2B2. And we have recommended to the Airport Advisory Board and the Terminal Committee that alternative 2B2 provides the greatest flexibility for the city in the future and the greatest sustainability. It is, however, the most expensive of the 3. This is just a very simplistic rendition of how it might look in the future when it's totally completed. The old terminal sits about right here. So the new terminal, new access roadway loop, and new parking. And of course, this is Billy Mitchell leading up to the airport. This is just a preliminary artist concept of what the new terminal building might look like. I want to be very, very clear. It's a preliminary artist concept. It is not a final design. We have quite a bit of work yet to do to get to that point, so don't jump to conclusions yet, if you will, please. But the idea is here to have a concept that, again, reflects Brownsville, reflects the region, both historically and functionally, and also provides a terminal that is light and airy on the inside and easy to move around in. This also reflects that the terminal could be expanded in the future, literally, both north and south, maximum of 10 gates. I will point out that it would not have to be a linear expansion, that what's called piers that would protrude to the east could be included in some future plan as well, so that option still exists. There are several steps to go from where we are today until the completion of a new terminal building, most of which are driven by the FAA in terms of approvals and that sort of thing, but also funding. So we're showing here where we are today. We've completed phase 2. We're getting ready to start phase 3, subject to your approval, of course, and receive an FAA grant, and completion of construction the first quarter of 2018. And this reflects that total schedule. Questions?
No, I laud you for all the work that you all are doing, and I thank all the committee members back there and the board advisory for all your efforts. I know it takes a lot of time from your schedules, so thank you very much. I think what you do have to also, though, now put into the equation, I think I was with both of you fellows when we went to talk to the FAA up in Washington not too terribly long ago. But now that we have a formal announcement from SpaceX that they will be coming to Brownsville, I think we need to kind of revisit some of those same topics that we discussed with the FAA, and also bring back to the advisory board a little bit about how that might change the trajectory of what we're looking at. Because again, for the public to know is that although the expenditures may be made, my recollection was from that meeting was that the FAA basically is the one that we look to for funds at the end of the day for reimbursement of the things that go into an airport. So not to get too excited about the kind of expenditures, because this is an investment in the future of Brownsville, but it's also, I think we have to incorporate from the economic state point of view is what else are we looking at and what potential do we have to develop an economic, I think if you looked at the Wall Street Journal today, it pointed to Brownsville as the gateway to the stars. So we may be more than just the gateway to the Americas, we may be a gateway to the stars. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Motion to proceed to executive session.
Second.
If I could have a point of order, just real quick. I'm going to have to, I will be in executive session. I have a conflicting meeting with the Brownsville Economic Development Council for just a little bit and hopefully get back over here. But before I do that, I just wanted to make a real brief statement and to thank everybody that's here today as well as in the TV audience for all their efforts that were placed on behalf of the city. I want to thank all the City Commission for all their efforts in the effort of SpaceX. I want to congratulate each and every one of you for the energy that was put into this project. And I just want to reiterate that we can work together, we can do things together, and this is probably something that we can really build on together. And so I know, knowing the airport board and all of their wonderful ideas and dreams, that I think this fits very well into, first of all, you got to believe in Brownsville, and now we're going to be investing in Brownsville, but we've got to do everything to help each other move this town forward, and I think we're in the right path. So thanks again to all of the people that are listening, and now I'll entertain a motion for executive.
Motion to move to executive session.
I'll have City Secretary first read the items, then we can go in executive.
I'd like to go ahead and read the executive session items, please. Executive session, item A, discussion pursuant to section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code to deliberate the value of real property. An executive session, item B, attorney consultation pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to provide legal advice and counsel in connection with the city's legal rights, duties, privileges, and obligations arising out of the current collective bargaining process between the city and the police officer's majority bargaining agent under Chapter 174 of the Texas Government Code, and to provide legal advice on pending or contemplated litigation to the collective bargaining process.
For the third time, motion to proceed to executive session.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
He was calling, begging for the check.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
Ms. Lang.
Thank you. We're going to have Pastor Desi Nahira from Word of God Church give the invocation.
Father, we thank you that we live in a community, Lord, where we can lift up your name and give you glory freely, God. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve you through our community. We ask you to bless this meeting, Lord, that we would glorify you in the things that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Action on items discussed in executive session. Item A, action to authorize staff to list the real property on East Adams Street between East 13th and 14th Streets for sale with a broker for commission of no more than 5% of sale price.
Should I have a motion?
Move to table until further notice.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mayor had to step out. Do we have any commissioners' reports?
I would like to call folks' attention to the orange banner that's in the window behind the camera, row of cameras there. We just came back from Princeton. Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's headquarters is in Princeton, and we were awarded out of 250 cities in the country the Culture of Health Award. Robert Wood Johnson is the largest philanthropic organization that provides recognition and funding for quality of life initiatives throughout the country and now internationally. And it is a great honor to be recognized for the different interactive programs that we have developed over the last 8 to 10 years that are leading the community to make healthy the easy choice for ourselves and our children to come. That banner will fly somewhere in the city. I believe we are also receiving additional banners, so when you see them, be proud because the community came together to create a healthy vision for our future. I'd like to thank our representative, Vela, for joining us in Princeton for that award, as well as the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Greenberg, from the University of Texas System, who joined us. We were the only community of the 6 that were the winners who had a senator or representative with them, and they were very impressed that our representative thought as much of us to be present. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. And I also want to remind folks that August 22nd is our next Ciclovia Nights coming up. That's only a couple weeks away. So celebrate back to school and celebrate our accomplishments. Come out to enjoy the car-free streets on August 22nd.
Thank you.
One real quick, I just wanted to send a shout out to the girls that are in the East Brownsville Senior League. They have won 2 games out of the World Series, and I am very, very proud of them because today they beat Canada. So we are extra proud of our girls. They are out of state and representing us very, very well, and I will be honored because I know they're going to bring home the trophy. We will be, all of us will be honored to award them a proclamation. We're waiting here at home for the good news and with the proclamation for them to introduce them to you. Them to you, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Presentations, Employee of the Month.
Commissioners, let me please present the Employee of the Month for August, Dalia Casanova. Oh, there you go. Dalia began her employment with the City of Brownsville as a part-time employee for our bus 8.5 years ago. She is now working and a proud employee under the Human Resources Department. Dalia is recognized as a person that is always dependable, taking care of all the initiatives and providing good customer service to each and every person that visits our city, visits our location, is applying for jobs and things like that. Well organized, and she's always a step ahead. So we recognize her with the plaque. Dalia Casanova, Employee of the Month for August. Use your pen. You have a watch?
No, yeah.
We're giving her a watch, not as pretty as hers, but it's a nice one. And she's got a few words for us, huh?
Thank you so much for this great opportunity, and I am very thankful to work for the City of Brownsville, and especially for the Human Resources Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4, consent agenda items A through B.
Do you have a motion?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5, consideration and action to appoint or reappoint 5 members to the Airport Advisory Board.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Commissioners, as you're aware, the Airport Advisory Board plays a very important role in terms of helping to guide the growth and development of the airport. We have a series of positions that are not only up for potential reappointment, but also some vacancies that need to be filled. And as you know, with regard to the announcement of SpaceX, this board is going to be playing a very important role for the development of the airport. There are 2 members of the Airport Advisory Board that are up for reappointment, and staff recommends that they be reappointed. That's a combination of Elida Cantu as well as Chris Houston, both of whom have been serving quite well in terms of attendance and so forth. Then you have 3 more vacant positions that the City Commission, as discretion, can choose to fill. You have a series of positions that have been forwarded to you from the City Secretary's office based upon interest by people in participating. For example, former Mayor Trevino has expressed an interest in participating. You also have Ed Rivera, who's expressed an interest in participating, and so forth. So staff doesn't have any problem with any of the people who've expressed an interest in participating, if the commission so chooses.
Mr. Brown, just for clarification, because Mr. Rivera lives outside of the city limits, does that still qualify him to serve on the board?
The ordinance that calls for the creation of the Airport Advisory Board, Ordinance 1088, allows a person to participate on the Airport Advisory Board provided they meet certain qualifications. One of those qualifications deals with potentially living outside the city limits or living inside the city limits, but there are other means you can qualify. For example, associated with business interests inside the city, owning a plane, or being involved in aviation type interests and so forth.
And he
That's why
does.
we think these people are qualified.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to appoint Mr. Ed Rivera.
Second?
Do you have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Elida Cantu and Chris Houston.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Still got 2 more?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Still have 2
Okay,
more vacancies?
those two, that's right, yeah. Did that include your motion for Mr.
No.
Rivera?
I said,
Oh.
you have Elida and the ex-official
Right.
and Chris, but the 3 extra vacancies, you didn't need any more people?
We
Yes.
do need those other 3 positions filled.
I'd
Right.
like to make a motion to appoint Eddie Trevino.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And did we need one more?
One more.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jose Angel Hinojosa.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 6, consideration and action to appoint 1 member to the Brownsville Metro Transit Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Commission. The mission and purpose of the committee for the City of Brownsville is to provide advice and guidance to the Brownsville City Commission through staff and the development of staff on the development, implementation, and operation of the paratransit and fixed route services consistent with state and federal rules. At this time, we are requesting the commission appoint Mr. Francisco Flores, who has expressed interest in serving in the Brownsville Metro Transit Advisory Committee. He has submitted the application and is the only applicant that we have at this time.
Ms. Berry was not interested in continuing to serve?
Ms. Berry is still interested in continuing to serve, and I did speak to her this afternoon, and she just has been busy and out of town, and she did say she would be filling the application again and would be considering requesting for reappointment.
So can we table it to let her? Can we table it to let her fill that out?
Well, we have 2 appointments. So we have Mr. Flores that has expressed the interest to fill this, to fill one of the seats that was vacated by Mr. Galansky. And then we have Ms. Berry, who is requesting to be reappointed, but we're not bringing that position before.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to appoint Mr. Francisco Flores.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Could at this time, could we appoint Ms. Sylvia Berry?
Well, I think one of the requirements is that they must fill out an application in order for them to be considered. So as soon as she fills out the application, we will be bringing that to you.
Thank you.
So can we table it to?
No.
No, she just.
Okay,
No,
okay, okay,
it's not
sorry.
mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, public hearing and action on resolution number 2014-051 to approve the allocation of Community Development Block Grant Home Investment Partnership Program and Emergency Solution Grant funding for the 2014 one-year action plan.
Commissioners, today the presentation is on the city's annual action plan, and this must be submitted to HUD every year so that we can receive funding. This is essentially the way the city awards funding to these agencies. Okay. There we go. So the first thing we need to do is look at the community needs. The city's consolidated plan includes an assessment of the needs. It includes a market analysis, a strategic plan for addressing the priority needs for the period of the plan. Initially, the city had a 3-year consolidated plan, but since then, the city has received 2 one-year extensions, That is the maximum that HUD allows. So we are in the final year of that 5-year consolidated plan. Early next year, we're going to start to update it, and we expect to submit it in August of next year. As part of the consolidated plan, every year we have to submit a 1-year or an annual action plan. That provides further details on the city's use of the community development funds. And like I mentioned earlier, this is the way that the city funds these agencies for the upcoming program year, which starts October 1st. Furthermore, staff needs to make sure that all activities align with the federal objectives that HUD has placed on these funds. So they are, for CDBG, it's benefit low and moderate income persons, aid in the prevention of or elimination of slums or blight, or meet a need having a particular urgency. For home, that is to provide decent, affordable housing to lower income households, to expand the capacity of nonprofit housing providers, strengthen the ability of state and local governments to provide housing, and to leverage private sector participation. For ESG, it's street outreach, emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, and homeless prevention of homeless individuals. We also award funds for the Homeless Management Information System, and that is a software that these agencies need to use to track their beneficiaries. So for CDBG next year, we expect to get $2,643,807. At this point, we are going to fully commit that amount. For home, we will be receiving $753,365. We expect to commit $729,086, and we'll have uncommitted funding in the amount of $24,279, and that's due to the per unit cost of the program. So once we see the program year moving, we can move that amount depending on which activity needs it. For ESG, we expect to receive $229,469, and we expect to fully commit that amount. So our funding schedule started with a release of notice of funding availability and an orientation that was held on November 21st of last year. And here, nonprofits and other agencies that may want or use HUD funding were invited. During this orientation, staff presented what are eligible activities, eligible costs, and any requirements that these agencies will need to comply with should they receive HUD funding. After the orientation, we asked for a letter of intent, and that was due January 3rd. This was a short 1 to 2 pager which details what their planned activity was. And that way, staff was able to determine if the proposed activities were eligible to be funded. For those agencies that did have eligible activities, we gave them an application, and that application was due February 28th of this year at 4 o'clock. During that application process, staff was available on February 18th, 19th, and 20th to provide technical assistance should the agencies have any questions as far as further eligible activities or the application process in general. So as far as the eligible activities, for CDBG, we received 14 applications for social services. 13 of them were found to be eligible, and we have recommended 10 for funding. For city departments and infrastructure, 17 applications were submitted, 13 were eligible, and we have recommended 3 to fund. For ESG, we usually have a small pool of applications. So 3 were submitted, all 3 were eligible, and all 3 will receive funding. And for home, we received 7 applications. All of them were eligible, and we have recommended 2 for funding. So how does this review process work? So department staff receives the full application, and we check once more to determine if what we received are still eligible activities. And then those activities that are deemed to be eligible are then presented to our Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee, and we ask for their input. Once those projects are selected, we print a advertisement in the Brownsville Herald, and it starts a 30-day public comment period. For this year, the public comment period was from July 1st to July 31st. And as well as that public comment period, we need to have 2 public hearings as per our citizen participation plan. So the first one was held on July 15th, 2014, not 13, at our BCAC meeting, and that was in City Plaza. And the second is today, and hopefully we'll get some action on it. The 1-year action plan needs to be submitted to HUD by August 16th. We have imposed a deadline on ourselves of August 15th, But obviously, if we finish it beforehand, we'll certainly submit it to HUD as soon as possible. So what's the criteria we used for funding? So we look at the project details, basically, what is the project about? What do you intend to do with the funds? How is the program going to work? We look at the target population. Who are you helping? How many people are you helping? Are they a special group as defined as HUD? So children, veterans, homeless, etc. Does your agency have the capacity to do what you're proposing to do? Do you have the staff and maybe extra resources that are going to be asked of you if you receive this funding? Auditing control. Do you have the capability to do, or rather, how are your internal controls? How are your financials? Are you in a healthy state financially? Has an external auditor found any concerns within your financials? As far as agency experience, does your agency have experience with HUD funding? Do you know what you're doing? How about with the type of program that you're proposing? Do you have any experience with that? Sustainability. HUD likes to see that we fund programs that will not end and don't depend solely on our funding. So we actually give a plus to that for those types of programs that will continue if and when we don't fund them. Detailed budget, can you tell us exactly where our funding is going to go? Is it for salaries? If so, for who? If it's for equipment, let us know. And then implementation. Do we have any concerns with the way you are proposing your activity to be run? Does it have a logical sequence? Can we see you getting from point A to point B? So for CDBG, we're allowed to retain 20% for administration, and we do so. So this year we'll retain $527,761. In addition to that, we are repaying a loan to the city, or to HUD rather, that the city took out for the linear park. This year we will pay off $224,500. And so for the infrastructure projects that we intend to fund, the Brownsville Performing Arts Academy, also known as the Stegman Building, will receive $750,000. Brownsville PUB will receive $350,000, and that is for Villanueva sewer improvements. It's a project that will take people off septic tanks and put them into PUB's sewer system, and that is off Military Highway and Alton Galore. And we will also fund the library department in the amounts of $393,975, and that is for the Southmost Community Center Dome. For social services, HUD caps us at 15%. They usually like for us to spend at least 10% of our annual allocation on social services. For this year, we are maxing it out at 15, and so the total of that will be $396,571 with 5 cents. And you can see that we're funding quite a variety of programs from different organizations, and the projects include after-school tutoring, help with income tax preparation, hospice care, adult literacy programs. Currently, we have 2 alternates. That doesn't mean that they won't be receiving funding at all. It just means that when we move with the program year forward, if there's any funding available, they will be the first ones to get choice. So for home, we are capped at 10% administration. So for this upcoming year, it'll be $75,336. We intend to award $525,000 to the Brownsville Affordable Homeownership Corporation. That is for the construction of brand new affordable homes. And then the Brownsville Homeownership Finance Corporation, which is a subsidiary of the Housing Authority of the City of Brownsville, will receive $128,750, and that is for down payment assistance. Like I mentioned, we do have at this moment $24,279 of uncommitted funds, and we can move those around depending on which agency needs it the most and is spending their funding the most. For ESG, we are capped at 7.65 administration. We're actually going to take a little bit less. I think it's around 7.5. The amount of that will be $17,210 with 18 cents. And for this grant, we usually receive applications from the same organizations, and we have funded everything that's available. The activities for these agencies include rapid rehousing, homeless prevention, shelter activities. The agencies are the Ozanam Center, Friendship of Women, and Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley. So these are the projects that staff has recommended after looking at their applications and after getting input from the Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee. We're open to receiving public comments.
Do you have any public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Debbie Sears. I'm the Executive Director and Speech Pathologist at the Moody Clinic. I want to thank you for your time. I'd like to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Trevino and Diego. They're with me today to plead for money from the city. As you may be aware, for 62 years, we've provided rehabilitation services to children in need in this community. We are currently listed as an alternate. We applied for $45,000. This money would go toward screening, evaluating, and treating children for physical, occupational, speech language therapy services in the HUD-approved tracks. We, to date, have served for 62 years close to 7,000 children in this community, children who otherwise might not have received any care at all or little care. We have lots of success stories. Actually, one of our success stories is currently an employee, a college graduate and an employee with the City of Brownsville. He couldn't be here tonight. So what we're requesting is you to reconsider and to provide the $45,000 for this treatment for these children that we need. It's critical treatment. The autism information statistics show that Hispanic children are diagnosed 2.5 years later than other ethnic groups. With this money, we can help get earlier diagnosis and treat these children. And we have personal experience that early diagnosis and treatment is the key to success with these children. But what we really need for you to remember that each child in this community deserves the chance to succeed and that we can help give them that chance. And Diego would just like to make one comment.
Please help the Moody Clinic. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
Is this the second year that Moody Clinic does not receive funds from? Okay, can you give me a synopsis or maybe anything, what the committee based their decision on?
Well, we base everything off the application, not the name on the application, as I think we should, and as I'm sure that HUD wants us to. The way you see it right now, can we get the PowerPoint back up, is actually the, bless you, the order that these agencies were ranked. So they're next in line. I mean, they would be the first alternate. The application just wasn't very clear on how they got from point A to point B, and that's why they're ranked like that.
Do we offer assistance with the application?
We did. We actually, well, apart from TA, we visited with the Moody Clinic. I'm forgetting the name of the person off the top of my head, but we did visit. Oh, there you go. There you go. And we talked about the application to see if we could get more information or to see point A to point B, how it natural progression, and I mean that's what we decided.
I mean, you look at it, and Moody Clinic and Friendship of Women, they're two very important, programs in the community. You have two alternates. I would ask that in the wisdom of the committee, if they would find to be able to make some sort of an adjustment so that we could help Moody Clinic and Friendship of Women out. It's been done in the past. I don't want to do it the way it's been done in the past in open session, and we divvy monies around and we change monies around, because that's been done in the past. I'd hate to do that to organizations. That's not fair. But what I am asking is, when you have two alternates like that, and when you have two very important organizations such as Moody Clinic and the Friendship of Women, I mean, this is just, like I told you, I don't want to be doing it. I don't want to ask the commission to do it in open session.
I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but HUD has a lot to do in the reporting. So it's not that you don't want to give, but sometimes that's an issue.
Yes, I mean, we certainly need to be wary when we're dealing with HUD funding. We don't want to pay anything back. I know we have had problems with that before. I've been here for 3 months, and that shadow is still, or that monkey is still on my back every time I talk to HUD, and I've only been here for 3 months. I step cautiously. Again, we award funding based on the application itself, not on the name of the application. If certainly for the next year, if they want more help for application, we can give it to them. That's not an issue. But we need to base off our decisions based on the application that we received.
If tradition serves me correct, you've come back through the year to ask the commission to make an adjustment because
Correct.
certain monies were left over.
Correct.
Could I impose on you that maybe you and staff meet with Moody Clinic and with Friendship of Women to clarify, to get what needs to get done on those applications? So, and if that situation arises to where there are funds that can be transferred again, that are left over, that they can be considered, would you please do that for
We
me?
can certainly look at a substantial amendment. Once this is approved, take it to HUD, and we sit down, let the dust clear. We can see who's spending the money quickly. That's certainly an option.
I wanted to commend Stephanie and all of you and your department for working so hard over the last couple of years to right the wrongs that were in this program, and work very intimately with HUD to really get us back on a sure footing and out of danger of having to refund money and so on and so forth. Very much appreciate your effort and your long work, and I know it's very complicated, and you're very much appreciated by this commission.
I have an additional, or one last question. On the first agency, is that amount considered, was that allocated before the money we just gave them? Or is that completely independent?
That is, I don't understand what money you just gave them.
No, we gave them money from our general fund.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
This is independent. This is,
So,
This
a
is
federal
based
fund.
on an activity that they're going to propose. That is a music program. So that is based on the activities as opposed to the organization.
so that the money we gave them doesn't factor into their
No, that's what
application?
No, not to their application. No, sir.
No?
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Close public
Well,
hearing.
We're in public.
Motion to
comment.
close public
Yeah.
hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Estela, please note my abstention.
Mine as well, because I serve on one of the boards.
I do too. Right,
I was gonna abstain too, but that'll lock it.
Because I serve on a board.
No, we basically need,
This needs to pass.
we need to.
What board do you serve on?
Tippah Texas Family Outreach.
Well, that has nothing to do with-
That has nothing to do with this.
I mean,
She's on the board.
We need a vote.
Do you need my vote?
Well, it-
Am I supposed to vote?
She's asking to abstain.
Do I vote? Because I serve on one of the boards.
She serves on the Tippah Texas.
Mark,
I mean, that's
I'll
She has
vote
to
in favor. And I'm just, like I said, if y'all would do me the favor of what I asked,
not a problem, sir.
I'll vote in favor to approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I felt differently.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Item 8, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-022-S to allow professional offices classification in a dwelling G classification for Lot 7 and Block N49, Block 1 of Isla de Palma subdivision, Section 7, located at 45 Southmost Road.
Good evening, members of the commission. Our first case, which is located, as you can see on the map projected on the screen, this is the area fronting Southmost and near Morningside. This is an existing daycare, and they're adding another room to the daycare, and they're coming for a specific use. This was before the Planning and Senate Commission on July 24, and all in favor of this specific use.
Public comment?
Close public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-023-S to allow apartments G classification and a dwelling G classification for 2.9 acres of Block 28 of Acacia Lake Gardens located at 265 Calle Milpa Verde.
Again, we have another map projected on the screen. This is the area shaded in red for the application. This is fronting Calle Milpa Verde, and on the rear is Lima Street. This was the for apartment specific use. Most of the buildings are going to be one story to protect the residential of the area and minimize the impact. Again, this was before the Planning and Zoning Commission, all in favor of this specific use.
How many buildings are they proposing?
24 units?
Do they have any green space?
Yes, ma'am, and they also have 2 spaces for playground areas. Can you?
I don't see the green space. Can you point it out?
Check the map, please. See this? All this area right here? Well, no, this is the area. I remember they moved this to the side. Instead of having 2, they have a big one area for playground. And they were applying all this to be fourplexes, 2-story. We recommend this to be a duplex, 1-story, to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended the way it was presented. And the access to the Lima Street is only for emergency exit. They won't have access on a regular basis through the residential area, only to the Calle Milpa Verde.
Is there any other public comment?
There's no more parking for our church commitments, but that's all right. You want to close public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item 10, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-024CO to rezone from general retail classification to light industrial G classification for 13.84 acres of El Espiritu Santo Grant Share 22, located near FM 511 and Paredes Line Road.
Again, we have another map projected on the screen. This area shaded in red is the specific, the rezoning from 4C to 7C. This is located on the southwest of 511 and Paredes Line. Again, this was also before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July the 24th, and they recommended approval, 3 in favor, 2 against.
I'd like to make a comment that on the form, it says that everyone voted unanimously to approve. So that's a typo, I guess.
Yeah, it is a typo. I'll make sure we fix that.
And how does this fall in line with our industrial corridor and the small area plan for that area?
Well, 511 or I-69 is a corridor between the port and the I-69.
Right.
All this area is for industrial area, or mainly industrial area, and this is to follow some of that trend. Is near Titan manufacturing or Titan building. Is also very close to the industrial subdivision. Again, there's the PUB or the new plan, which is very close by. And as you can see on this brown area, this is also 7 commercial. And this is to follow some of the, also a comprehensive plan on the city of Brownsville.
Noe, what is it going to be again? What was the use? I'm sorry.
This is a rezoning for 7 commercial, which almost whatever is allowed on the 7 industrial.
There's not a specific company that wants to do specifically something there.
Well, now, the buyers, yeah, it's a specific use or proposed use, but it's not on the rezoning. But yes, the owner wants to build a truck stop slash retail store slash restaurant slash small theaters and rest area for truck drivers.
That's part of my question. If he wants to build retail stores and all of that, isn't that something that planning and zoning should discuss with GBIC and try to come to an agreement as far as it falling in line with what we have proposed for that area? If that is in fact the industrial corridor, to me, it doesn't make sense to have retail in an area where we're going to have a power plant and where GBIC owns a lot of property to have an industrial park. So
Well,
maybe it conflicts.
The main use is the truck stop, which is only allowed on the 7 commercial, meaning gas station, maintenance, parking for the truck. This has to be on 7 commercial, or it will not be allowed.
I think.
Right, that makes sense, but to include retail, that.
Well, it's part of the concept that they have, and I will, the owner explained that better to us, well, to you all, the exact use that they proposing. But keep in mind that that's not on the rezoning. Once
other
it's
words,
rezoned,
The item before us is to rezone. It's not for us to deliberate on the proposed project.
yeah, of course, this is it's a CO, which has some special conditions, not to allow certain uses, and you have on the agenda.
Yes, there's an application for specific
yes,
use.
Exactly.
Now, the
And-
retail on there is geared specifically towards, like example, when you go to a Love truck stop, you have a McDonald's, you have a Subway, you have showers, you have
No,
restrooms. So
Yeah,
that's
accessories to the truck stop.
So, I'm sorry, again, I apologize. If
No.
this passes, it allows the change in zoning, then what happens with regards to that specific use? Does that come back to us at a later date?
If they want to. Yeah.
If who
But they
wants
don't
to?
have, the applicant, or if it's denied, yeah, they can come back.
So they don't have to show a site plan or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Well, then I have a problem.
Did you have any comments or any opposition at the planning and zoning?
Yes, the national park, some members of the national park. Some of the conditional use is to fit this use. Plus, we have two overlays, the 051, which protect the building, the view, the front of the building, the colors, and the heights. Also, the 031 does not allow residential. Those overlays protect the area that we've done before on the previous ordinances.
Well, my concern is that some of the issues that were raised by the National Park Service. They're a wonderful partner
Sure.
in the city, and it's a great asset. And I would like to see them work with the developer to achieve some sort of compromise or agreeable site plan. The other concern I have is that this corridor, although it's not on a map, is a very active cycling route. There are hundreds of cyclists and groups of cyclists that go around this corner every weekend. Big trucks coming in there is going to make it dangerous for the cyclists and precarious for the truckers that will have to stop. So any site plan needs to accommodate for those cyclists in terms of, for example, instead of putting the sidewalk on the outside or the frontage road, putting a track or a trail rather behind the property so that the cyclists can go behind and not get into the flow of trucks. So that's why I'm interested in seeing site plans before I vote for this.
Sure, yeah, you have that. Okay, the bicycle route, just to mention it a little bit.
No,
Well-
you're talking about the bike trail. I'm talking
Okay.
about people that ride on the street.
Okay.
There are dozens and literally 3-4 different bike groups with 50 people in them that ride on the street on 511 and turn north and south on part of this line every weekend. They're
Okay.
not riding on the bike trail, they're riding on the street.
Mhm.
So they will have to stop and wait for the trucks to come in and out, or the trucks may hit them, or the trucks may get annoyed at having to stop for cyclists, which could be avoided by a trail being built behind the property to get the cyclist from 511 to Paredes Line and back without having to go into the flow of the trucks.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the bike trail.
Okay. The applicant is here and also the National Park.
When the toll road that exists in the 511, I think it's fair to say that the road is mainly used by trucks
Yeah,
that are headed
by
to the port.
commercial truck stops.
And that are headed in and
trucks.
out. And yet, here in Brownsville, we have truck drivers that are parking the gas stations, truck drivers that are taking their trucks into our neighborhoods, and neighbors complaining all the time. Truck driver says, I don't have anywhere to put it, I'm an independent owner, but yet I don't have an office. And it's too early to talk about this because, in essence, what we're here to talk about is the zoning of this property.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the project, we're going into specifics on the project, but yet, because of the specific use that's in the application, the applicant has to abide by everything that we have in place.
There's nothing in place that does what I just said.
I think we should maybe perhaps allow these two groups to dialogue with each other and see if they can come up with an agreeable method that will give everybody what they want and include, address the concerns that the commission has expressed.
That was suggested by staff to the Planning and Zoning Commission. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant requested for them to make a decision, and they made the decision. So
In the spirit of
After several
cooperation that we've experienced in the past with different items that have come before before us with regards to planning, I think that would be a good solution. We've had good successes in the past when groups are in conflict with projects. I think it's a good option that we can consider.
yeah, we would like to see that and be on their table too.
I know one of the concerns brought up by Commissioner Portillo is that GBIC owns a substantial amount of property in that area. I am a GBIC board member. I can't speak for the whole board, but I will say that we work very, very hard to create jobs and bring industry to Brownsville. And part of that, one of the biggest industries we have right now in Brownsville is trucking. We ship billions of dollars a year, and so to have a truck stop to cater to them would be a fantastic thing for Brownsville. We love our truckers. We want to do anything we can for them, and I love the idea that you have, but we also love our battlefield. So, you know, to be a commissioner and have to weigh both sides, it would be fantastic if you all could get together and work something out, because I know that all of us here are pro-job creation, and we are very, very, very grateful that you have brought this idea to us. There's nothing else in the valley like it, and we like that you're here. So I'm all for it, but I also understand where the battlefield is coming from. So does anybody have anything to say? It's a public hearing, yeah.
And also vote to continue this agenda item until they do have a specific plan to present to you.
Okay, well, if anybody wants to say anything, I think they do.
Move to continue?
Well,
Rick,
there's
there
some
is-
public
Okay,
comment.
sorry.
Maybe we should allow them to.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Liz Vera, and I represent Liz Realty, and I am the sole representative and Texas real estate broker for the Corporation of United Fuel. Okay? United Fuel is a global company with offices in Turkey, India, Malaysia, Utah, California, and hopefully today or maybe in the future, by casting a positive vote today, we as a community can put Brownsville, Texas on the global network map of doing business with a clean, green, renewable energy biofuel company. The facts are clear that we as a nation and as a community must stand and come before and become less dependent on foreign oil. At United Fuel, we are committed to uphold all the rules, ordinances, best practices set forth for this project by the city. United Fuel is determined to invest its own resources and not ask Brownsville for one penny in giving Brownsville its first innovative, state-of-the-art truck center to be located at 7295 Paderes Line Road. The facility will offer a myriad of services from biofuel pumps, clean showers, good food, a movie theater within the truck stop, vehicle wash and truck maintenance services, and of course, a free and safe 24-hour stay for truck drivers. The idea behind the Travel Center facility is to help improve the conditions for truck drivers. Very often, their needs are overlooked, such as fatigue, a safe haven to rest, inadequate and vehicle parking, in other words, parking on the side of the roads, in neighborhoods, in shopping centers. This will certainly be a thing of the past. United Fuel Supply has taken all of these factors that are lacking in Brownsville, Texas, and the surrounding areas into consideration and careful planning and preparation for Brownsville's first truck travel center. Our mission is very simple, ladies and gentlemen, to improve and promote a better quality of life for truck drivers and their families. This reminds me of witnessing time after time the truck driving dad, his wife, and the kids in the cabin of an 18-wheeler. Nowhere safe to park, nowhere to eat, nowhere to shower, and no truck maintenance. The second thing that United Fuel has promised is to provide safer driving conditions for all motorists, for all of us that are here. And third, and just as equally important, United Fuel is ready to provide a fountain of job opportunities and a projected $2 to $5 million in tax revenue for the city of Brownsville. We trust the community will embrace our efforts to empower Brownsville to dream big, because we at United Fuel Supply believe in Brownsville. In closing, and in the spirit of our all-American city to dream big, it gives me great honor to announce to everyone in this room, United Fuel, just a few days ago, purchased 72 acres next door to the subject property, along the 55 commercial corridor to develop. United Fuel has already entertained the idea of premium outlets, hotels, restaurants, and a host of other exciting businesses for Brownsville. As in today's Brownsville Herald reads, Boca Chica will host SpaceX rocket launching, a reality. We at United Fuel can only hope and pray that our truck travel center will also become a reality for all the citizens of Brownsville, Texas. Thank you for your time, and may God bless you for your unremitting support and commitment to serve in the public's best interest. And if you have any questions, I know you had a few questions and doubts. Have we reached out to the national park? Yes, we have. Immediately after the planning and zoning, I have emailed, Mr. Marcus here to approve that. We were unable to because of a conflict in his schedule. So we did meet yesterday. We talked about something thematic that we could all work. We've even considered bringing some of the artifacts into our truck stop. And now that United Fuel is the sole owner of 72 acres, we are going to develop. This is not a long-term thing. This is something that's going to happen, hopefully with it very, very soon. I will say that we are more than happy to assist those concerns in terms of the bike trail, in terms of assisting you to give you some kind of a safe haven for everything, because we're all about safety. And so if that's a concern, if we have started collaborating, absolutely. And in fact, I just spoke with United Fuel just a few moments ago, and they are willing to put a tourist bureau within the United Fuel truck stop so that we can work. I know that there were some concerns that were saying, well, we don't have a lot of, we need more tourists to come in. I mean, I personally went there and visited with Mr. Mark Spear. I loved it. Beautiful. If we can help them, if we can enhance them, United Fuel is here to stay. If we've already made the commitment without having one penny from Brownsville, we went ahead and we invested already. Like you say, dream big and invest. We already did. We've already done that. And now we're awaiting this very important and crucial time for a vote so that we can begin working to assist Brownsville with more jobs and so forth. But I am the face of United Fuel, so it's not like, I know that we have offices in India, Turkey, but I am Liz Vera. I live here. I know the park. So they can reach out to me. I'm available 7 days a week, and that's where we stand with this. So if you have any questions or you have any concerns, we have reached out, and we're here to work with them thematically. Whatever they need, we're here to assist them. It's like when you go to a new neighborhood, you're going to go meet your neighbor. United Fuel has extended our hands, and we started talking already. We started dialoguing on how we can help them and everyone there make this a better place for Brownsville. You said to dream big, and we did it.
And I'm so glad to hear that you're willing to cooperate and work together. So in that spirit, I'd like to move to table so that those negotiations, or rather conversations with city staff and the National Park Service can continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
No,
Aye.
I need aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to table it for right now. I think,
Oh, yes.
I don't know if anybody else had anything to say. I think there was other people. That's what I was trying to say.
And I was premature.
I would like to say something, though, to Ms. Vera and
Yes.
the investor. We want business in Brownsville, and we're happy to entertain this development. But I feel, since it is a little new still for the commissioners, because we received our packet on Friday, and I would like the opportunity to meet with you and to hear about the plans that you have. And so I feel I can't in good faith, but I know it's just a rezoning, but I would still like that opportunity to meet with you and the investor and to understand what the vision is. And also more time for other parties to meet. So it is in no way a deterrent for you to have business here. On the contrary, we want to work with you.
Well, we are here to work and facilitate any meetings or so forth. Give me a heads up, and I will bring our crew, the engineers from Utah, to fly down, and also our from California. And of course, mind you, United Fuel does have another venue and another city. And like everything, we need to move on this. There's a sense of urgency, even though we did purchase the 72 acres and we are going to develop. This, of course, is good for the community. And like I said, we are willing to work follow every strict guideline, anything that we need to do in order to work with the national park to get this to where we need to be. So there won't be any opposition. They're going to be my neighbors. So I've already extended our hand, and we will continue to extend our hand, and we will continue to work with them so that we can work collaboratively and come up with a creative solution to where everybody's happy in that corridor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. My name is Mark Spear. I'm the superintendent of Palo Alto Battlefield. And not that many years ago, the battlefield was at the just north of an intersection with a four-way stop sign on two country roads. Now we've got a shadow of a toll road and a four-lane road out front. And the Park Service recognizes and welcomes responsible development that complements the setting of the battlefield and provides a welcoming gateway to Brownsville. And in light of the SpaceX announcement, we recognize more tourists are coming, and we need a good opening gateway. And that can be accomplished through proper zoning, I believe. And I point to your own zoning code, section 348.3A7 states that one of the purposes of the zoning code is to protect and preserve places of historical, cultural, architectural importance and significance. The ordinance before you this evening may not represent the best development for the area bordering a national park, that the city of Brownsville and many citizens fought for years and have continued to promote for years. This is only one of 401 national parks in the entire country, and Brownsville is fortunate enough to have one. And I think it's really important. You know, when you look at a development that may create excessive smoke, noise, fumes, lighting, traffic congestion, and activities that this proposed development could generate, that may not be in keeping with these tourist gateway that, you know, I would envision coming off a major transportation corridor into Brownsville. Over 60% of our visitors come from outside the local area. The park generates, as of last year, about $1.7 million for the local economy, supports 25 local jobs. For every dollar spent in a national park, it generates $10 in the U.S. economy. Imagine what we could do if we could double or triple our visitation to that park in terms of Brownsville's economy. I think we could be important, more important than we are today. And that could be assisted by responsible development that promotes heritage and nature tourism, which is a huge economic engine here in the valley. We've partnered with the city on many initiatives. We're leading the way on the Hike Bike Master Plan. We've got a lot of processes in play for that. And it was spoken about earlier with the banner on the wall over here about quality of life. Having a national park in your community that's protected and promoted adds to the quality of life. It generates interest in this community from outside businesses. So I wouldn't discount that. The zoning code, in fact, has a tourist corridor overlay for this particular area that's designed to encourage tourism and provide some protective measures for signing, lighting, landscaping. And as I read the current ordinance, that's not reflected at all. The 051 overlay, the conditions are not in the ordinance. And this spawned another question as I listened to you all discuss this evening. Is this in fact a specific use? And if that's the case, I need to refer you to your own ordinances again under 348 1417. And when you consider specific uses, there is under 348 1417 extra safeguards that must be employed. Item G says, specific use applications narrative shall include a professionally prepared impact statement indicating the maximum level, duration of future noise, vibration, hazards, pollution, traffic, and other applicable impacts to the perimeter of the site. It also calls specific use applications shall comply with all provisions of the 051 overlay district, even if the site is not located in an 051 overlay district. So there's some significant considerations that don't appear in the ordinance as I read it. In recent years, we've worked with the city on a number of specific zoning requests in and around the park. And we've worked hard to make sure the overlay is considered. What we haven't seen from the city, unfortunately, is follow-through enforcement of the provisions of the 051 overlay. And should this particular ordinance pass, I would emphatically ask that the overlay conditions be enforced. Regardless of the outcome of the decision here this evening, or if we table it and go into further discussions, and I have had some productive discussions with those folks on the basis of this potentially passing and us having to work with them as neighbors. I would submit, though, it's time to move away from, schizophrenic reactionary zoning every time a project is proposed. And I would like to suggest the park and the community come together on a workshop to revisit zoning and the tourist corridor and what we can do to promote tourism through zoning here in Brownsville. And I can stand here today and offer the facilitation services of our Rivers and Trails Conservation Assistance Program to come in and work with you all, with United Fuel and anybody else, to revisit zoning, to look at responsible zoning, and work together to help bring economic growth and responsible development here to Brownsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Brad?
Brad Burks, Brownsville. One of the many things I've done in my life between ministries was driving a truck. And I can tell you, everybody wants what the truck driver's hauling. Nobody wants the truck or his truck. After being given a ticket in Dallas for parking in the very best place I could find within the city limits, I was very discouraged. I was very close to organizing a trucker boycott on Dallas, which would have shut the city down. Everybody wants what he's hauling, but nobody wants him or his truck, and that's just not right. The retail in a truck stop is geared towards the truck driver, things that the truck driver needs so he can get on his way without having to get in the city with his truck. It's frustrating trying to find someplace interesting to eat when you've been on the road for a long time and realize there's no place that fits your truck. And it's also frustrating when the only place you could find to sleep in your truck has no place to eat in the morning. So there you are getting up and going. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit dangerous before I've had a little bit of caffeine in the morning. And so there is a safety issue. I'm not saying exactly where this truck stop should be, but I can say that Brownsville's seriously lacking in that area. I delivered to Brownsville long before I came here as a pastor, and the nearest truck stop I could find with all the facilities, all the services I needed, was a long ways away from Brownsville. And again, that's discouraging. And when we talk about tourism for Brownsville, the lady mentioned that having a tourism bureau within the truck stop would be great. You can be turning truck drivers into ambassadors for the city if they're treated well. Right. If they're treated well. But anyway, I know you probably weren't expecting that from me, but that's my little...
Somehow it doesn't shock us.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Walter Plitt. I'm Chairman of the Palo Alto National Park Committee. I've been working on this project, National Park project, since the 1970s. Back in the mid-late 90s, you may recall the Titan Tire fiasco. We got that done. We got the building moved south of the original site. It was a very similar situation politically and the way things were handled as what we're having here this evening and what we had in P&Z, because I was very close to it, okay? The building got moved south at the city's expense. This goes back to Mayor Henry Gonzalez, Commissioner Zinn, Mayor Nacho Garza. We've had many mayors, many governors. We've had several senators and congressmen that have been involved in this project. But in any event, the building got moved back, and one of the promises made, and I'm hearing promises tonight, and I appreciate that, Ms. Vera, one of the promises made that the north end of that building would be painted sky blue because of the visitor view shed from the park. Not a problem. We'll paint it sky blue. Then there was going to be a tree line planted along the canal that is close to or nearby the industrial park that is north of the Titan building, okay? The trees never happened, and neither did the blue paint, but promises were made. We have an industrial park. I heard the word industrial park from the commissioners tonight. We have one in place just north of the Titan plant. When that industrial park, when we see more and more industry moving in there, and the Titan plant becomes full with another leasing in there, with another operation, we're going to be adding trucks and automobiles to Paredes Line Road. We already have a tremendous amount of transportation between Brownsville and Los Fresnos. The National Park Service has thousands of kids, you may not be aware of this, but thousands of kids from Valley schools all over, Rio Grande City, Raymondsville, McAllen, that come visit the park on field trips every year in school buses. We've got a Los Fresnos school right down 511 on the north side. We've got a lot of traffic. My concern is you can camouflage a truck stop, but you can't camouflage tractor trailers and tankers making turns in and out of 550 and 511 Paredes Line. It's going to be one big traffic mess, and I'm concerned about the visitors. I'm concerned about the tourism people coming in. I'm concerned about the school buses, and I'm concerned about how do we need a truck stop at that location? And I appreciate the wealth and the interest that you have that you're offering for the community. But I'm saying to you, there are other locations for truck stops. Other locations, we've got miles and miles of highway there. And I'm saying that this is not the place for a truck stop. I'd like to read something here from you from our friend Jason Hills. I serve on the Brownsville Economic Development Council myself. I'm a committee member on the membership committee. I sent Jason Hills the same package that I sent all the commissioners, our concern, our 2-page concern relating to the Palo Alto Committee and our concern about putting this truck stop there. I want to read something to you. Walter, thank you so much for your leadership and community involvement. I know you do everything from the heart, and that is rare to find. Here's a key word. I agree with your positions, and I appreciate the support on SpaceX. I believe the coming week we will bear some exciting news in Brownsville, which we got yesterday. Jason Hills, there's no one more for development. I'm for development than Jason Hills and Brownsville Economic Development Council. He says here, I agree with your positions, and my positions are that that corner is not the place, and my committee's positions is not the place for a truck stop. It's real simple. If we're even going to venture further into truck stops, then I think a professional study should be done of the traffic that's going to be generated at that corner, now, the future, 5 years, 10 years. I'm just real saddened that we're seeing this happen. I think it needs some real consideration. I think the other thing I'd like to say real quick is, if we change the zoning, if we dilute the zoning, if we do that, we're going to open the door for other situations. I think it's honorable, a good thing if Union Fuel and the Park Service can come together and then plans are drawn perhaps later, but we should not dilute the zoning as it stands. That zoning was put in place, okay? Larry Brown's team, is Larry still here? When Larry Brown headed planning and zoning, his team put that zoning, that protective corridor in place right after the Titan Tower fiasco. So I'm saying, let's do not dilute. Let's negotiate, work with, fine, but let's do not dilute our zoning. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
Ken?
Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, my name is Ken Schaefer. I'm a 40-plus year citizen of Brownsville, Texas, and very proud of it. I am here as a concerned citizen with no financial interest in any of the activities going on, other than the fact that I am a amateur historian, I'm a bicyclist, and I'm concerned about Brownsville. I strongly feel that this is not the location, and I ask you as city commissioners, do you want your legacy to include the fact that during your tenure, a truck stop basically at the end of the day was built catty corner to what I call, or arguably, the most historic spot in Brownsville? I hope not. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ken.
And I'm also a truck.
Okay. Any other public comment? I'm sorry.
Mariano Ayala, Brownsville Convention Visitors Bureau. My board hasn't met, so I'm speaking as the president and CEO of the Convention Visitors Bureau. Obviously, I'm here because of the tourism that the park brings. When we have visitors come, we promote Palo Alto because we're so proud of it. People from Mexico like to see it, even though they weren't in the victorious side of it, but it's historical, and it's one of the few places that have both English and Spanish of everything that happened there. And I'm all pro-business. I want jobs. Especially if they're going to put a tourist bureau. I was shocked to hear that, since I'm the tourist director, so we can talk. And but is that the right location? I don't know. I just found out about this. I just want to protect our park. It brings in a lot of tourism. I think it's going to grow more, but I'm at a catch-22 because I want business also. So I'm glad that we're going to sit down and visit. I would like to be there. But like I say, I'm in a catch-22. I'm all for tourism, the park, but maybe this is not the right location, and I'd like to visit that. But I also want the jobs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bean.
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Lenny Vera, and I'm a partner of Liz Realty. I just have a few things to say that Ms. Vera, that on your, Commissioner, on your, the bike situation, United Fuel is willing to work with the city of Brownsville to do whatever it takes to work with the city, any of your issues. We're not here to come in and take over. We're ready to work with the city and make everybody happy. We'll make the park happy, truckers happy, workers happy. And I'd like to say also that basically, you know, this is a private seller that's trying to sell his land, and we have a private buyer. You know, we're trying to do business. But like I said, once again, United Fuel is here to work with the city of Brownsville and try to make it happen. Their concerns, everybody's concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one question. If the negotiations do not work out, is the buyer willing to move to a different part of Brownsville? Or what would be happening if no agreement is reached?
United Fuel has stated they will move to another city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to close public comment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to table the item so that we can allow the discussions to go forward with the groups. I believe that in the spirit of working together and cooperation, I think we can reach a mutually agreeable solution to this situation. We welcome the company, and we want to make sure that they don't get discouraged from being here. But I do believe that they need to continue dialoguing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay?
Motion carries. Don't forget to invite Bina Yala, okay?
Item 11, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-025-S to allow a professional office G classification and a dwelling G classification for Lot 1, Block 3 of Iowa Estates Subdivision, Section 2, located at 115 South Bernal Drive.
Again, we have another specific use on the area shaded in red. This is on Bernal Drive, very close to the east of the Iowa Avenue. This is an existing daycare, and again, this is like the one previous, adding a room, a couple of rooms, and adding some parking. This was before the Planning and Zoning Commission. All in favor of the specific use.
It's a public hearing. Any comments?
Move to close.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-026-S to allow a general retail G classification and a light retail G classification for Lot 2, Block 1 of SSP Circle K subdivision, located at 802 Old Port Isabel Road.
Again, we have another map there on the screen. This area shaded in red is for the application located on Old Port Isabel and very close to East Price. Again, this was before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July the 24th, and all in favor of this specific use.
Any comments, public?
Oh. Never mind. What is it?
Come on up.
Yeah, just
go ahead.
approach the podium.
Come up.
My name's Dutch Fisher Real Estate, Safe Harbor Investment Properties. It seems to me, being if you'll look above on Price Road, you will see the dark blue shaded areas. Those are, we have rezoned those. If you will look on Old Port Isabel, we have rezoned those. They would be pretty much in compliance with what the applicant is wanting to do there. Those went smooth as silk. We're getting ready to build on one of those right now. And I don't see how it would conflict with any of this. I have no financial interest having anything to do with this project, but it certainly seems like it works for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dutch.
So motion to close public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 13, excuse me, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-027-S to allow a light commercial G classification and a light retail G classification for Lot 1, Block 1 of El Chaparral Commercial, Section 1, located at 1140 West Alton Glore Boulevard.
Again, Commissioners, we have another map projected on the screen. This area shaded in red is for the specific use. This is on East Alton Glore and very close to Steakhouse Road. Paredes line is right on this vicinity, and the expressways will be on the west side. Again, this was before the Planning and Senate Commission, and all in favor of the application.
Did any residents oppose this item, or were they made aware of it?
They were aware of like any other case. No, there were nobody present be against, or any calls for that matter.
What is it gonna be?
It's a used Charlie Clark Nissan used car lot. My question about this particular item was, I know Charlie Clark develops really nice car lots, and it will be a quality structure. My only concern was whether or not it would fall in line with everything around there. I could see something like this closer to where the hospital is. Does planning have any suggestions as far as what they were thinking, other than the development being a good development? But what's to stop us from allowing another car lot to develop right next door or across the street?
Well, based on previous cases, on similar cases, used car lots or pre-owned vehicles, they don't like to use the
pre-owned.
pre-used car lot. But pre-owned vehicles, on similar situation, on maintained roads, takes that maintained Alton Glore Expressway, FM 100, and on previous cases, similar cases, and approved and recommended by the Planning and Senate Commission, approved by this commission, we were in support of the case.
I know that he has several in District 2, and they are very well kept and great parts of the community, and he's very generous.
And also, this is going to be the main administration office for all the administration on the vehicle.
We like Charlie Clark here.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Second.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve in the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 14, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-028 to rezone from dwelling Z classification to general retail G classification for Lot 4, Block 5 of Villanueva subdivision located at 2441 U.S. Military Highway 281. And 15. Item 15, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-028-S to allow a medium commercial G classification and a general retail classification for Lot 4, Block 5 of Villanueva subdivision located at 2441 U.S. Military Highway 281.
Again, we have another map. This area is for the rezoning and the specific use from a dwelling to for commercial, and from for commercial to medium commercial, which allow the maintenance of vehicles and trucks. This is an existing maintenance shop to the east, and they relocated to this site. So it's within the same area, but they've been there for years. So they're asking for a specific use just to move to the east. Again, this was before the Planning and Senate Commission, and all in favor.
But they didn't provide like a site map or anything?
On the 28S, yes.
On the what?
On the 28S, there's two cases, the rezoning and the specific use.
Item 14. Item 14.
Can you check the site plan? On item 15.
I just want to make sure that they put some nice landscaping on there. I mean, that's a growing area, and I don't want it to look all dilapidated and stuff because,
Yeah, they will have to comply with the city ordinance. That's part of the specific use, to comply with all city ordinance. Buffer trees, parking trees, plants, green area, non-grass, green area.
that's not in theirs.
Move to close public comment.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Move to
Motion,
Second?
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 16, public hearing and action, and that would be the motion for both of those together.
Well, we had them open together.
Item 16, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-030 to rezone from dwelling Z classification to medium retail G classification for 5.5 acres of northeast block 5 of Olmito Gardens subdivision number 1, located near FM 803 and Cajun Street.
Also?
Item 17, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-030-S to allow a medium commercial G classification and a medium retail G classification for 5.5 acres of northeast block 5 of Olmito Gardens subdivision number 1, located near FM 803 and Cajun Street.
Again, we have another map checked on the screen. This area is for the rezoning and the specific use. This specific use is for a house and a cabinet shop within the same property. Again, this will comply with all city ordinances. And this was before the Planning and Center Commission on July the 24th, and all in favor of this specific use. We don't get any calls or people present on the Planning Center Commission against.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 18, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2014-031-S to allow a duplex G classification and a dwelling G classification for Lot 9 of Block 1 of Alamo Heights, located at 1184 North Central Avenue.
Again, this is a area shaded in red projected on the map. This is 14th Street, Central Avenue. This is for a duplex, a specific use. And again, this was before the Planning and Center Commission, all in favor of the specific use.
Is there
And
any,
this will be the last.
is there any other duplexes around the area?
On the front is apartments. There are some apartments, and right next to it, and here's the stripes on the corner. And right across is, I don't know, like 50 apartments right here in this corner. And the school.
Move to close public comment?
Second.
Motion to approve?
Wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry, I
listen.
skipped. I'm
All
sorry.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 19, public hearing to discuss the city's proposed fiscal year 2015 budget.
Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners, this is the first public hearing on the proposed budget. We will be having 3 more budget meetings. They're tentatively scheduled for August 26th, September 2nd. And when it's finalized or adopted, September 15th. We have a few weeks to go, but within a few weeks, we'll be filing the budget with the City Secretary's office 30 days before it's approved on September 15th. This is by law, and this is so that the public could inspect and review the budget on file. We started the budget process with a deficit of $2.3 million. This doesn't include any personnel or special projects of any kind. In order to narrow the gap, we placed the budget that was there at the beginning of 2014, the beginning of fiscal year 2014. In order to narrow the gap, we also looked at our debt service fund. On our debt service fund, we noticed that they had reserves on the debt service fund. When we adopt the tax rate, there's two components on the tax rate. One is the M&O, which is a general fund, and the second one is the debt service fund. Because there was sufficient reserves, we feel comfortable that in the debt service fund, we should to continue funding in the next years. What we did is we lowered the tax rate, the portion of the tax rate from the debt service fund, and allocated more money into the general fund. With these changes, we decreased the deficit to budget deficit to $1.4 million. We'll continue working on the budget until it's approved on September 15. I gave you a handout of the budget presentation in case it might be a little bit easier to follow. The first schedule on here, on the top right-hand corner, the effective tax rate that is calculated was 0.698701. This rate is the rate that is the effective tax rate is a rate that excuse me. This rate is a rate that's calculated so that the entity could earn the same amount of tax revenue as it did in the previous years with the same taxing properties. The proposed rate that we're asking for is the same rate that we have for this past year, which is 0.700613. Because the effective tax rate is less than the proposed rate by 2.7, we must say that it's an increase. But what we're proposing is to have the same tax rate as last year. We're also, as part of this computation, we have to compute the rollback rate. The rollback rate is the maximum rate that we could legally adopt without the voters triggering a rollback election, and that rate is 0.755255. We're not proposing to do the rollback rate. We're proposing to continue with the rate of 0.700613. The next schedule here, this schedule just reflects because of the over 65 tax freeze, tax levies lost because of the freeze is 582,000. Next schedule, excuse me. The next schedule has property values. As you can see, from tax year 2013 to current tax year 2014, we had an increase of 2.25 increase in the certified tax roll. General fund, on the proposed budget, we have revenues. We have expenses exceeding revenues by the $1,462,000. Based on this budget, we anticipate to have a fund balance budgeted of 10.69%. On the percentage of expenses per category, we are service orientated, and most of our revenue, most of our expenses are attributed to personal services. For the amended 24 budget, we have 69%. For the proposed budget, that percent 73.47%. On the sales tax, we've been having a very good year in sales tax. Through the month of June, we had that increase of 3.94%. Right here, on this schedule, we have a bar graph signifying the tax rate and the allocations between the debt service and the general fund. As you can see, as we've needed to allocate more monies into the general fund, but then we do have enough in order to cover our debt service. This is our general summary of our debt service requirements of $151,275,000. All that is not all tax supported. Some of it is called what we call self-supported. So self-supported meaning $8,071,000, and it's coming from the Paseo Lighting Landscaping District, CDBG on the Linear Park, BCIC for the construction of the sports park, Greater Brownsville, GBIC for airport improvements, and airport runway funds from the airport of $995,000. This is the debt service fund. On here, we have the revenues under expenditures by $717,000. As had commented earlier, a lot of, a portion of the tax rate got decreased and got moved over to the general fund in order to cover this. The reason we did that is because we had $2,130,000 in the beginning fund balance. Using the fund balance, we still would have a fund balance at, projected fund balance at September 30, 2015 of $1,412,000. Convention and tourism. The convention and tourism, this year where we're allocating the same amount of funds that we allocated in the previous 3 years. The projected budgets on this is $1,404,500. The community development fund is a federal grant funds and revenues balanced with expenditures. Non-bonded debt, $120,000 transfers from the general fund. Landfill tipping fee, it's balanced. The airport fund, airport fund is balanced, and that's balanced with a general fund transfer of $1,386,000. Bridge fund, we're expected to have $1,500,000 coming from the bridge fund, but transfer out to the general fund the same amount. Motor vehicle parking system, we see a slight surplus on there of $95,361. Most will be attributed to the increase in parking meter fees we're anticipating. Public transit, you have your revenues and expenditures reflected on the schedule. The Brownsville Golf Center Fund, again, it's balanced with a transfer from the general fund. I would note that as far as the transfer from the general fund has been decreasing slightly on this fund. This is a public meeting.
I would like to say thank you to the finance department. You all made a huge effort to meet with all of us and to explain everything, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Did
Move to acknowledge the finance director's report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
There are no public comments.
Do we have to close?
We have to close public comment?
No, it's just acknowledged.
Item 21, consideration and action on Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation project funding recommendations for fiscal year 2014, cycle 1.
Before you is the list of the recommended projects to be funded for this funding cycle.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Item 22, consideration and action to authorize the city manager to accept and execute a grant awarded by the Texas Department of Transportation under the Intercity Bus Program for the Metro Connect project in the amount of $822,198.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. On May 29, 2014, the Texas Transportation Commission awarded the City of Brownsville a grant under the Inner City Bus Program for $822,198. The funding will be used by the City of Brownsville, Brownsville Metro, in partnership with the cities of McAllen and South Padre Island to continue the Metro Connect service for fiscal year 2015. The local match for this project will be provided by all the 3 funding partners. And staff respectfully requests authorization for the City Commission to accept and execute this intercity bus grant in the amount of $822,198.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 23, consideration and action on resolution number 2014-050 to authorize the filing of a grant application with the Federal Transit Administration for the discretionary bus and bus facilities program grants for fiscal year 2014 and committing the required share of local funding.
On June 14, 2014, a solicitation of the grant application was published in the Federal Register for the discretionary funds available in fiscal year 2014 from the Federal Transit Administration under the Bus and Bus Facilities Program. One of the priorities that was listed in this grant program is to purchase, replace, or rehab of buses and vans. Brownsville Metro would like to submit a proposal requesting grant funds to replace 19 heavy-duty, low-floor, wheelchair-equipped buses that have exceeded or will exceed their useful life of 12 years for the next 2 years, within the next 2 years. The total time frame for this project is approximately 2 years, 6 months created for RFP and bid solicitation, and 18 months for production, assuming that the city receives the funding under the proposed grant program. The grant will provide up to 85% of the net project capital costs, and Metro Connect is requesting authorization to submit a proposal for $7.6 million. The federal portion based on these estimates is $6.4 million, and the city's local match contributed will be approximately $1.1 million, should we get funded. Brownsville Metro is requesting authorization for the city manager and his designee to file the grant application.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to authorize.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 24, consideration and action to acknowledge the Cameron Appraisal District Chief Appraiser certification of the City of Brownsville's 2014 tax roll.
Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners, this is an acknowledgement item. This is to acknowledge the Chief Appraiser certification of the city's tax roll for 2014 in the amount of $5,984,082,844.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 25, consideration and action to acknowledge the Finance Director certification of the estimated ad valorem tax collection rate for the tax year 2014 and the excess debt tax collections for tax year 2013.
Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners, this item is to acknowledge the city's estimated tax rate for year 2014 will be 100%, and that the excess collection for tax year 2013 will be 0.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 26, consideration and action to acknowledge the Finance Director's calculation of the city's effective and rollback ad valorem tax rates for tax year 2014 or fiscal year 2015.
Thank you.
This item is for action to consider the calculation, the attached worksheet. The worksheet that was attached on the agenda package had a slight error. When we do with this, when we calculate this worksheet, we submit it to the Cameron County Appraiser's Office, Cameron County Tax Office for review, and there was an update, a correction. And this motion is to acknowledge the calculations of the effective tax rate. On the board is it's a presentation on the truth in taxation, or the process that we go by. Do you mind I go ahead and go through the presentation? The truth in taxation. Texas Constitution sets out the general requirements in truth in taxation. Truth in taxation requires a taxing entity to calculate two rates after receiving the certified appraisal roll from the appraisal district, which is the effective tax rate and the rollback rate. These two rates are calculated from the 2014 effective tax rate worksheet and the 2014 rollback worksheets. and published by the worksheets that are published by Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. Generally, the tax entity must take the following actions: determine and publish the effective tax rate and the rollback rate, decide how much revenue it needs, calculates the tax rate required to raise the amount it needs, and publish notices. Hold two hearings if the proposed tax rate will exceed the rollback tax rate or the effective tax rate. Adopt the tax rate, and if necessary, administer a rollback elections. There are 4 principles in the truth in taxation. The property owners have a right to know about increases to their property. The taxing entity must publish its effective and rollback tax before adopting an actual tax rate. A taxing entity must publish special notices and to hold 2 public hearings before adopting a tax rate that exceed the lower of the rollback rate or the effective tax rate. If a taxing entity adopts a rate that exceeds the rollback rate, voters may petition for an election. The effective tax rate is a calculated rate that will provide the tax entity with the same amount of revenue received in the prior year on the properties taxed in both years. The calculation process starts after the chief appraiser delivers to the taxing entity the certified appraisal tax roll and the estimated tax values of the properties. Tax entity chief financial officer determines the following information that is applied by the chief appraiser in his certified tax roll: total appraised and tax values of the property and taxing entity, the total appraised and taxable values of the new property, and the total tax property annexed since the preceding years. To calculate the 2014 effective tax rate, a taxing entity must first determine its total 2013 property tax. The effective and rollback rate calculations begin with the total property taxes and the values of the last year at the time of the rate. These totals include all supplements and corrections that have occurred to the tax roll since the last year certification and tax rate adoption. The effective tax rate enables the public to evaluate the relationship between the taxes of the preceding years and for the current year, based on the tax rate that would produce the same amount of property tax if applied to the same property tax on both years. The rollback rate. The rollback rate has 2 components: the maintenance and operation, which is day-to-day operations, general fund, and the debt service or sinking fund. Debt service to repay bonds, and debt securities by property taxes. The M&O portion of the rollback rate, tax rate, is a rate that will be needed to raise 8% or more of the operating funds that the tax entity levied in the preceding year. The calculation is similar to the effective rate calculation. The debt rate portion of the tax rate that will be needed to pay the taxes entity's debt payment is in the coming year. This portion of the calculation does not depend on the prior year's debt taxes at all. It simply considers what taxing entity will actually need for the current year. The portion of the overall rate used to retire the debt may rise as high as necessary without triggering the threat of a rollback. The M&O portion, however, may only rise 8%. During the sales tax and general obligation bonds elections held in August 91, the voters of the city of Brownsville approved Proposition 1 with the passage of the proposition that the voters adopt an additional 1.5 cent and use the tax to reduce the property tax rate. That concludes it. Any questions?
Good.
Put it on.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 27, consideration and action to acknowledge the finance director's calculation of a tax increase if the proposed tax rate will exceed the lower of the rollback tax rate or the effective tax rate.
Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you.
Correction on this schedule is when we submitted the schedule to the county and they made adjustments to the schedule I just sent out, it also made a slight adjustment to the rollback rate. It doesn't affect it, but it just Instead of the 75,531, the actual amount, the correct amount should be .755255. Now, this is just an acknowledgement that the proposed rate will exceed the effective tax rate.
Move to
Okay.
acknowledge.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. I'd love to, Dagoberto, but I don't know that I have the, Counselor, do I have that option? It's not a public hearing. I'm sorry, Dagoberto. Okay, thank you, Lupe.
Thank you.
Item 28, consideration and action on resolution number 2014-049 to execute an agreement between the City of Brownsville and the Federal Highway Administration, Central Federal Lands Highway Division regarding the Resaca de la Palma Connector Trail.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. On behalf of the Office of Grant Management, I'd like to present you a resolution to execute an agreement between the City of Brownsville and the Federal Highway Administration for the Resaca de la Palma Connector Trail project. This project will serve as a connection between the Resaca de la Palma battlefield and the Palo Alto Battlefield National Historic Park. It will bring more visibility and visitors to both parks, reducing congestion and parking and preserving valuable open space for public enjoyment. And as such, we recommend approval of this project and acceptance of this agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 29, consideration and action for approval of the proposed second substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2013 HUD Community Development Block Grant Program funding allocation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here today to present the proposed second substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2013 HUD Community Development Block Grant. The proposed change, anytime we have to do a substantial amendment to the one-year action plan is if we change or add any projects that we hadn't initially added. In this particular case, we are proposing to add funding for the Ozanam Center, which is a shelter, to assist them with some public facility improvements that are in dire need at the moment. We had an uncommitted budget of $77,000, and we are asking we're proposing to assist them with $25,000, which would be leaving our uncommitted funds to a total of $52,334.83. Anytime we do a substantial amendment, we are required to have two public hearings, which we have satisfied on June the 25th and July the 15th through our BCAC committee. We had a 30-day comment period that began on June the 2nd, and it ended on Wednesday, July the 2nd of this current year.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 30, consideration and action to authorize the donation of surplus items from the Brownsville Police Department to the Matamoros, Tamaulipas, Mexico Police Department.
Mayor, City Commission, the Brownsville Police Department is requesting authority to donate surplus items. It consists mostly of clothes, uniforms, without patches, of course, some belts, non-weaponry, obviously, but just to Matamoros Police Department. We've done this before about 10 years ago, and just surplus items they've requested, and we're going to put it before you and see if we can get it approved.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 31, consideration and action to authorize the City of Brownsville Police Department to apply for fiscal year 2015 Texas Traffic Safety E-Grants STEP Comprehensive Grant in the amount of $94,320.07.
Mayor, City Commission, we're requesting authority just to apply for STEP grants. STEP grants are traffic, DWI type grants, speed grants, safety belt, child seats. Just requesting authority to put in for grants.
Move to authorize.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 32, consideration and action to award a contract for restoration services for the Aircraft Fire Rescue Unit at the Brownsville South Padre Island International Airport.
The City Commissioners were requesting that you award this contract. The purpose of the contract is to take the existing firefighting foam truck that is stationed permanently at the airport firefighting station, take it to the company that built it, rehab the fire truck, bring the fire truck back, put it into use. Next week, we will bring to you another contract that has to do with leasing a replacement fire truck for the 6-month period while it is being rehabbed. This is being done partly so we can be in a position to potentially have a reserve truck and to be in a position about 5 years from now to buy a new truck. It all has to do with federal funding. We ask that you do this subject to the approval of a grant from the FAA in the same amount.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 33, consideration and action to approve a work task order number 4 under the terms of the master contract with CH2M Hill for aviation engineering.
As the City Commission may recall, the work that is done by CH2M Hill is done under a contract that we requested proposals on. The master contract was awarded CH2M Hill in April of 2010, so a period of 5 years. All work that is done under that contract has to be done in the form of a work task order that is presented to the City Commission and approved by the City Commission. There are 4 projects under the terms of this work task order number 4. First has to do with professional services for the development. This would all be subject to approval of a grant by the FAA for 100% of the cost. First of all, professional service development for the development of the updated airport layout plan. Periodically, the FAA requires that we update the airport layout plan, which is in effect a master plan for the airport that is scheduled to be done. The last time it was done was in 1997. That's one project. Second project, new passenger terminal project and conceptual drawings. That is a 20% design. You have to do 20% design to do an environmental assessment for the project. The next step for the project is that environmental assessment. So this does the 20% design. Third, phase 3 preparation environmental assessment for the new passenger terminal. That's the environmental assessment. And again, this is the next step we have to go through. Finally, the fourth is a small part, and that assists me with putting together what are called ODO sheets, which have to do with an engineering description for grant applications that we submit for AIP funds. But in summary, those are the 4 projects that task order number 4 is about. I recommend approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 34, consideration and action to authorize the purchase and delivery of 2 heavy-duty wheelchair-equipped, low-floor Gillig buses.
Good evening. Brownsville Metro staff is respectfully requesting approval to exercise 2 purchase options on procurement number HDB 550409 for heavy-duty wheelchair-equipped low-floor Gillig buses. We are currently in the process of closing out the final year of this 5-year contract with Gillig. Brownsville Metro currently has funds available and is in the process of applying for additional formula funds for fiscal year 2015 and 16 under the 5339 Building and Facilities Grant Program. Brownsville Metro is requesting to use pre-award authority to exercise 2 options to capture the cost savings as provided under the current Gillig contract. B Metro will consolidate fiscal year 2013, 14, 15, and 16 Section 5339 federal funds for the purchase of 3 buses in total. Earlier this year, the City Commission approved the purchase of 1 Gillig bus in which fiscal year 2014 and partial fiscal year 2013 and partial year 2014 funds were budgeted for said purchase. The Federal Transit Administration has approved us to use pre-award authority for the fiscal year 15 and 16 funds. Under the current contract, the base price is $337,048 with a CIP increase for an amended base price of $370,684. The total federal portions for this bus, for these 2 buses is $736,026. With a federal fund at 85% and local match at 15%. This procurement reflects compliance with FTA and TxDOT procurement guidelines, and is within budget. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Norma, I have a quick question. You mentioned the facilities, the money could be used for facilities. In the future, would that qualify for bus shelters, or we need to look for other funding?
That potentially could qualify for bus shelters, but we currently have funding for shelters that we are utilizing right now. We're working on the South Mills area
Okay.
for bus stop improvements and enhancements, which will include some shelters.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 35, consideration and action to award a contract for street paving and drainage services for Wood Hollow Street.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. This item is to award a contract for paving and drainage improvements for Wood Hollow Street to G&T Paving Company. The contract amount is $648,386. I recommend approval of this item.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 36, consideration and action to award a contract for the Urban Search and Rescue Airbag Lifting Kit with operating accessories for use by the Brownsville Fire Department and the Emergency Management Office.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. The Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security recommends consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase and delivery of an Urban Search and Rescue Airbag Lifting Kit with operating accessories to Metro Fire Apparatus Specialist, Inc. of Houston, Texas, in the amount of $50,000. The procurement reflects buy board contract pricing. This equipment will be used by our fire department. Funding for this procurement is available through State Homeland Security Program Fund at 100%. There's no local match. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say
Thank
aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 37, consideration and action to authorize the renewal of a term contract for procurement and travel card services with Citibank through the State of Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts.
Mayor, City Commissioners, staff recommendation is to request authorization to renew a term contract for procurement and travel card services, what we call the P-card. And this is through the State of Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts to Citibank. And it is, the city is exercising its option to extend the term of the contract for the second 12-month extension, and shall expire August 31st, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 38, consideration and action to award a term contract for vacant lot mowing services for the Brownsville Public Health Department.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners. At the request of our department, the Purchasing and Contract Services Department solicited formal sealed proposals for the aforementioned project. Based on successful negotiations with the proposed contractors, staff recommends the award of a term contract for vacant lot mowing services for our department to be awarded to 4 contractors: Flores Tractors, Rios, Hope Landscaping, Mesquite Landscaping. The term contract shall commence on July 31st, 2017. Funding is in place.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Let's get a mowing.
Item 39, consideration and action to award a contract for LTP's painting and exterior upgrades.
Mayor and Commissioners, pleasure to be here. This is a contract for some much-needed exterior repairs to the LTP's building. It involves masonry repairs, a thorough cleaning of the brickwork, some mortar repairs. Planning Department, in conjunction with purchasing, solicited bids for the project. We received 3 bids ranging from $39,900 up to $44,900. We're recommending tonight approval of the low bidder bid of $39,900 to Torres Electric and Plumbing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Item 40, consideration and action to authorize the renewal of a term contract for AEP Prime Oils and SS1 Asphalt Emulsions for the City of Brownsville Public Works Department.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Tonight, we're requesting the authorization to extend a term contract for EAP Prime Oils and SS1 Asphalt Emulsions for the City of Brownsville Public Works Department to Ergon Asphalt and Emulsions of Austin, Texas. It is at the original quoted price. These are materials that are critical components to our street paving and maintenance program, which provide the necessary binding to our aggregates for these projects. Funding is in place. It's coming out of our general fund, 01-417, 744.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Santana.
Item 41, consideration and action to award a contract for the purchase and delivery of a new 2015 sanitation truck for the Brownsville Public Works Department.
Mayor, City Commissioners, tonight we're requesting the approval to award a contract for the purchase and delivery of a new 2015 sanitation truck for the City of Brownsville Public Works Department to Freightliner of Austin in the amount of $152,753. And this procurement reflects the buy board contracting price. The sanitation truck will replace a decommissioned 1998 sanitation truck, which was purchased used back in 2005. The sanitation truck will assist in garbage collections of the city properties, various cleanup projects, and to ensure that all streets and alleys of our city's down street areas are clean and free of debris. We consulted with the finance department and legal, and the funding source for the acquisition of this sanitation truck is available through the special fund, the plastic bag fund account number.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good work, Santana.
And item 42, consideration and action to authorize the renewal of a term contract for purchase and delivery of traffic paint for the Brownsville Traffic Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here tonight for the renewal of the traffic paint for Sherwin-Williams. We'd like to renew it for one more year. I don't see any problems in this contract.
Motion to approve?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.